Story time of how I manifested a DO rapper and it ruined my life. So okay, so now that we're caught up, I gotta add some things, and I gotta make sure that we understand where I'm going with this, because there's certain things that I can say and certain things that I cannot say. Even though I'm not on a non-disclosure, it's certain things that I will and will not say, honey. Now, prior to this situation, okay, I was supposed to be doing this because I was in chorus, right? I was in a very well-known chorus group, or if you will, it wasn't a group, it was a choir, very well known. And end up, our lesson, one of the lessons that we had to learn was about um, the wheel of fortune, right? And it's basically Carmina Burana or Fortuna, and it talks about the four different like things that is needed uh, for them to worship, and they believed and deemed to be okay, which was gluttony, women, gambling, and drinking. Those four things, right? And those four things was represented in four different areas of a picture, and it was a woman usually depicted in the middle controlling all of it because it's a wheel, right? And sometimes it is depicted with horses on them, right? Sometimes the one at the top is depicted because this came out in Renaissance times, right? The 15th century. So, or the 13th century, actually, my bad. So, the wheel sometimes has the horses, and sometimes it's the brown horse, but like a light brown horse, and she's usually nude. And then we have the white horse with like thunder in their eyes, and then we have the dark brown horse, and then we have the black horse. Y'all see where I'm going with this? Okay. Anyway, um, what that was depicting for me was, a sense of learning and a sense of, it was all a lesson in its entirety. But the point of that was when I met the dude, right? I was like, if you really like me, like you say you do, since you just randomly pulling up on me, randomly trying to hook me, randomly trying to get with me, knowing you in a situation, knowing who you are, knowing whatever. I'm like, give somebody a song for me. I told this man to give somebody a song for me. And at the time, I was playing because at the time I was zooted as a motherfucker. Okay, I was really like, zooted. So, and notice I'm not saying allegedly, but I want y'all to read between the lines, child. Now, call me delusional, call me what you want. This is just my personal outtake on it. But what I will say is, I told him to make a song. I told him to make an album because it was like a competition because I'm very into like music, right? So, uh, knowing who he was, I was like, well, you gonna have to write an album for somebody and make sure it's somebody that I listen to, right? And I was like, make sure it's a good album. Make sure it's a nigga. Because the person I got was a woman. That's the person I wanted to give my song to was a woman. So I told him, go and give this album or go and make an album with somebody and, tell me, like, I don't even want you to tell me. I just want to hear it pop out. So I gave him the snippet because at the time, and it was so funny when I was hearing everybody on social media like, oh, why would she say this on a song, why would she say this on a song? And it was because she didn't write that part, and I never got credit for it. But and there's nothing to do about it now. I know that when I have to write, I have to write in a room, and I can't just give nobody no motherfucking song because, baby, you have no credibility. So you can say whatever you want, but I know what I did, and I'm good with that. Okay. So when I gave him the song, I was like, when I gave him the snippet, I was like, I want it to be funky. Like I want it to sound funky, but I want it to sound flamboyant and happy and joyous and joyful, right? And then I said, I want to make sure that, it gives what it gives, but I want it to be like a coming out, a celebration, right? And end up, I was like, I started singing, but I'm not gonna sing the song because I don't want y'all to really put all everything together until I'm ready to finish the series. But what I will say is, I gave him the song because at the time I was working at Wendy's, right? And like I said, I had just got off. To catch it, I just had got off at 4 o'clock, but I didn't get home till 4:51. So, um, when I met the boy that night, when I met him, when I met the DO person, I went to work, right? So, hold on, let's skip to that. So, when I met him, I was like, so fast forward, he told me to get in, right? He told me to get in. I told him to go around, I'm gonna come across. And he was like, you gonna get in? And I was like, yeah. I'm still missing some parts of the story because, like I said, I blacked out like throughout majority of it, and it goes in and out because I got PTSD. But what I will say is, um, he looked at me. I remember his chest inhaling and exhaling, and he shook his head and he drove off. And I thought he was like gone or whatever. I don't know. I just didn't trust the nigga. And he turns and he makes like a U-turn in the parking lot. And so I'm like, oh shit. I thought I was tripping. I didn't know this was real. Because mind you, I'm zooted as the fuck. So I'm thinking, oh, this shit is a joke. Like I didn't think any of this was real. And end up, I was like, okay, let's just go across the street. I go across the street. I look in the car. This nigga looking looky-loo, like Blue's motherfucking Clues. And I'm like, something not right about this. And I was like, no. Even though, and I will say, always take the chances that God gives you. Uh, because who knows what predicament I will be in. But this is the reason